Mr. Steve Rosen?
I came here from Washington. Yes, I live in Washington. But I am a consultant to an organization called ELNET, which works in Europe, in Paris and in Madrid especially.
Can you tell us about ELNET and what do you do?
ELNET is the European Leadership Network. It is trying to help Friends of Israel be more politically effective in European countries to improve the relationship between their countries and Europe and Israel.
How you do that? What's the concrete action that you do?
Well, we help European organizations, and they are involved in speaking to political leaders in their countries and also participating in elections and political campaigns to try to help political friends of Israel be stronger in individual European countries.
And you also work in Brussels with the EU?
Well, we have an office in Brussels, but we are not doing as much with the EU. It's mostly with the national governments, especially in France and in Spain.
Very good. What do you do in France?
In France, we have a sister organization called Le Cercle Paris Jerusalem, headed by Cécile Sportis, with a French board of directors. And that organization is involved with the French Socialist Party to try to strengthen Friends of Israel in the Socialist Party of France and bring about through that closer relations between France and Israel.
Do you see that the Socialist Party is more afraid of Israel, or you think it's why did you choose to work especially with the Socialist Party?
Well, we're interested in both parties, but today the UMP, Sarkozy's party, is headed by a man, Nicolas Sarkozy, who is a friend of Israel. And Friends of Israel are today strong in the UMP, the party of the right, the so-called Gaullist party. But on the left, the parties of the left are split. Some of the people in the Socialist Party are close to Israel, and others not so close. We would like to see the voices that are close to Israel get stronger and influence the direction of their party. We would like to see both political parties in France close to Israel.
It's mainly to support Israel, or it's also to support the Jews and the Jewish interests in some way? Would you see them differentiated, or
It's not primarily about Jewish affairs as such. It's primarily about France's policy in the Middle East, France's policy toward Iran, France's policy toward the difficult Palestinian question, France's policy toward Hezbollah in Lebanon. It is primarily about French foreign policy, and not so much about the domestic position of the Jewish community, although the matters are related. Today in France, much of the anti-Semitism starts as hatred for Israel and spills over to hatred for Jews. So the problem of anti-Semitism and the problem of Israel are related, but they're not the same.
What's the concrete thing that you do? I mean, do you organize visits to Israel of politicians, or do you try to lobby them, or what the way that you use to make this work?
Yes, our sister organization sponsors trips to Israel. They are bringing 4 delegations of Socialist Party leaders to Israel this year, in the next 12 months. We also sponsor the France-Israel Strategic Dialogue, which is a dialogue between members of the government of France and the government of Israel and experts, top experts from the think tanks in France and the think tanks in Israel about the Middle East, about the strategic policies of France and the strategic policies of Israel, and trying to achieve closer coordination between them.
People are used to say that Europe is different. They cannot use like APAC on other kind of lobbying. Do you think it's really different or do you think it's the same thing and we can use some of the ways of share or profit or benefit from the experience we have in the US, the Jewish people as in the US to be used in Europe?
Look, I am not French, but from what I have learned about France, no question France is different from the United States. But some things are similar. For example, we have elections in the United States. They have elections in France. Jews are about 1% of the population in the United States. Jews are about 1% of the population in France. The 1% in America are very involved in politics. The 1% in France have not been so involved in politics. We think that if more French Jews got involved and exercised their right to participate in democracy in France, they could get results, just as we got results in America. So that is similar. But the way the government of France works, the laws of France, French culture, what is normal practice in France is different from America. And everything that our friends do to increase their political strength has to be done the French way. It has to be done according to French law. It has to be done according to French cultural practices and norms. So it's not the same, but there is one thing that is similar, and that is they're both democracies. And when in a democracy you stand up and you participate, you can get results. And if you don't stand up and participate, you won't get results. So that's similar.
You decided to set up a new organization, which is a French organization, as you say, but not to use the regular institutional Jewish organization that you have in France. How is your partnership with a regular and traditional institution in France, Jewish institution in France?
Let me say, we have not set up anything. Friends of Israel in France, French Friends of Israel, have set up an organization. We are helping the organization. We are ready to help existing organizations. We have close, good relations with many existing organizations. Some of our donors have made a donation to CRIF, for example, because CRIF is a very important organization in France that does important work. CRIF is not involved in elections. It is not a political organization. It is a cultural organization of the Jewish community, and it does an excellent job of speaking for the community and doing education about matters of concern to the community. But it's not a political organization. The CPJ, which I described, is a more political organization and does only the part that's involved in politics. There are, by the way, many other organizations in France that do good work also. For example, MedBridge is an organization which sends French politicians to Israel just as CPJ does. This is good. We hope there will be more organizations sending French politicians to Israel. There's a need for it, and the more there is, the better things will be.
If I understand well, Mr. Rosen, I understand that it's a kind of complementary work of the CRIF, yes, more than something competitor, because absolutely, the CRIF, it's not a good idea that the CRIF will take a position in the socialist on the left, on the right, because things are changing all the time. It's better they keep no political position, and in some way it's better that different organizations, or maybe part of it, but certainly not a part of the institution, will try to lobby and to advance some politicians from different parties to be closer to Israel and to help them. I understand that it's not easy. I met with Claude Gosquin, you know, from Claude Gosquin, from with the chief of the lobby of France-Israel Association of Politicians. And I met him in Israel during his last visit. He told me that it is very difficult for them to support Israel. Why? What the main reason of people who have some difficulties with Israel in France?
Well, Israel lives in a tough neighborhood. France is a democracy at peace. Israel is a democracy at war. Many people in France don't remember that when France was at war, it had to take very strong measures for the security of its people and its territory. Today, France is not a threatened country, except by terrorism, but it is not threatened with invasion. It is not threatened with rocket attack. France is not threatened with a neighbor who is getting nuclear weapons sworn to destroy France. So for ordinary Frenchmen, life is much easier in foreign policy than it is for Israelis. Israel lives in a tough neighborhood. Israel has to take tough steps to protect itself. Sometimes the things Israel does to protect itself look excessive if you're a Frenchman. Look like, why do you have to be so strong or so militaristic or to use so much force? So what looks to Frenchmen like the excessive use of force looks to Israelis like restraint. And it needs to be explained. It's not simple. This is exactly why we would like to see more French political leaders come to Israel. Let me give you an example. Today, the Socialist Party of France is headed by Martine Aubry. She could be the next president of France. If you read the public opinion polls in France, you will see that Mr. Sarkozy, President Sarkozy, is going down in popularity, and the socialists are going up. So if you had to predict the results of the 2012 election, which will happen in the middle of 2012, 2 years from now, less, you would say the socialists have a good chance to be the president of France. Well, Ms. Aubry has never been to Israel. And most of the people who are her advisors have never been to Israel. This is not good. She deserves a chance to understand the Israeli point of view, to see things that the ordinary Israeli sees when he looks out at the world. She doesn't know what that world looks like from the vantage point of Israel. We believe that if Martine Aubry would visit Israel, she would gain a deeper understanding of Israel's point of view. So we want to see people close to her participate in seminars about the Middle East and in discussions and read some material and visit Israel. They're not going to support everything Israel does tomorrow or any more than they do today, but maybe their understanding would be deeper and the criticism might be somewhat softer if they could see for themselves the dilemma that Israel faces. That's part of the goal here.
So inside the Socialist Party, you have also some people that you believe are more closer friends of Israel, and you try to support them especially?
Well, there are some who have already been to Israel, who may have family in Israel. A famous one is Dominique Strauss-Kahn, and he represents a wing of the Socialist Party that is more familiar with Israel and Israel's difficulties. We would like to see all the wings of the Socialist Party, what they call the courants. We would like to see all the courants have a relationship with Israel. We don't want anybody to be distant from Israel. It's not a question of just one politician. It's a question of all of them, really. And of course, we hope that the future policy of the Socialist Party, if it becomes the leading party of France, will be close to Israel as France is today, even closer than France is today.
Some people say that Dominique Strauss-Kahn, during the primaries at the Socialist Party, will have no chance to be elected because he's a Jew. Do you feel such a thing, a kind of anti-Semitism from the basic street level?
If you read the French public opinion polls, you will see that he is the most popular politician in France today. Yes, he's a Jew. The French public knows he's Jewish, but it doesn't prevent him from being number one. If you ask in the polls, there have been a whole bunch of polls that have asked, who would be the best president of France in the future? Sarkozy, Aubry, Strauss-Kahn, and some other names. The number one, the one with the most support, more than any other candidate, is Strauss-Kahn. So I would say that, at least in this regard, being Jewish is not holding him back so far. Now you ask what will happen in the actual vote. I don't know, but it seems to me that he has a fair chance. He has to decide, does he want to run? He is presently the head of the International Monetary Fund. It's a very important job. The world economy is in great danger, and he is one of the most powerful figures in the world today on the world economy as head of the International Monetary Fund. He may be offered a second term at the International Monetary Fund. His term expires in 2012. That's also when the French election is. It is not certain that he will run. This is why it's important that not only Strauss-Kahn, but also Aubry and all the other key figures in the Socialist Party and in the UMP, Sarkozy's party, all come to Israel, see the world from Israel's point of view, become friends with Israel's leaders. If they don't agree, at least they will have better understanding of the point of view that they don't agree with. And maybe they'll see why Israel sometimes has to take stronger steps than they might have thought to defend itself.
Do you feel that some people prefer not to come to Israel? They feel it could be for them not so much an advantage like you see in other countries. But some political leaders, for example, for India, prefer not to come to Israel because when they come to Israel, they may have some problem with the local population who doesn't like Israel.
Each person has to decide this for themselves, but I have been told that most French leaders are willing to come to Israel, and it's not going to stop them from making a visit. And that if we were to invite them and to have a good program for them and they would spend their time in a productive way, that many of them would welcome the opportunity. They're also very busy people. It's probably a bigger problem that they're so busy than that they are prejudiced against Israel. It's difficult for top political leaders to take the time to spend a whole week, for example, in Israel. It's a lot of time, and that's sometimes a problem. But I don't think so far that we see anyone refusing to come here because Israel is a pariah nation, so terrible that I don't want anything to do with Israel. Nobody says that to us so far.